All right. Can you tell me where the global pump industry is right now?
In which sense do you mean?
Like,
Size?
how's the market doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there is. It's rather fragmented in the sense that we see stagnation in some markets. I think it's well known that part of Europe is in a financial crisis. But we see very, very buoyant markets in East Europe, in Russia, Asia, and we actually also quite satisfied with the development here in North America. Last year we grew something like 8-9% here in the market, and we have some clear ambitions on where to go, and we see that as very promising. So all in all, pluses and minuses, we're quite optimistic about the pump market at the moment.
Okay, great. Okay. And how does the U.S. market fit in globally?
The U.S. market is still the largest pump market in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to state that. Sometimes we or somebody forgets that. A lot is talking about China. I do it also myself. But let's recall that the American pump market is with $6.5 billion the largest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if I add to that, I think it's also a pump market which needs to be updated, if I can use that word, which has to be influenced by higher technology level. So I think there is both a big market, but there's also an added value, an upselling possibility in the market. As you probably know, we work very much in the arena of improving efficiency, both hydraulically, but also through the electronic and the controls in the pumping systems. And we see huge potentials, huge opportunities in that here in the American market.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Because Soren is maybe almost too polite. I have actually said in the Pumps and System articles that we assess that the US is at least 10 years behind the curve when it comes to technology.
Okay.
And that is, in a positive sense, what we see as a fantastic opportunity. And I can tell other people outside Grundfos say US is even more behind. But it is from a technology perspective. But the big challenge is not only the technology, so it's of course also teaching people how to use it, and therefore training and general upgrade of both engineering skills and plumbing skills. There's a lot to be done.
Okay, and what are your plans for accomplishing those upgrades?
What we're doing is we are introducing a row of new products.
Okay.
Developed over the last, let's say 10 years, introduced in Europe, where, as we just talked about, the standards are higher simply. And what we're doing right now is that we are transferring these technologies, these products, into the American market, not just by one-to-one, but we are adapting, of course, to the American standards and the American requirements, but with that high technology built in. That's the important point. So we would see, or you would see that Grundfos pumps would have these high efficiencies. You would see them having communication methods so you can control them on distance, etc., etc. And all these things is, as I said, relatively new to this market, and it demands a lot of education, and that is the key word: education of the value chain, distributors, dealers, installers, and even consulting engineers. It's now I should not offend anybody, but it is a little bit shocking that some of the consulting engineers they are not really got grip on this, what is necessary. And I think they're missing an opportunity. They're missing a business opportunity here, because what I said before, it's a lot of upselling possibilities. We see in Europe, for example, that the markets are quite stagnant in areas, but we're growing because we are selling up with higher technology, more benefits for the user and so on.
Okay.
Can I piggyback on your comments again? The market here in the US is also, I believe there's a big revolution going on. And of course we try to influence that. But the market also changes itself right now because people start realizing how expensive moving water around is.
Mm-hmm.
The water prices here in the US have come up a lot the last few years. We're talking 20-30% in most urban areas per year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they were so low that multiplying 0 with 20-30% that doesn't move the needle very much. But suddenly people talk and I noticed that of course also at work, people say, I just got a water bill, it was $150. They're shocked. Some areas like Fresno didn't even have water meters until this year. So suddenly the price of water is something people start realizing it's not for free.
Right.
The price of electricity is going up. So people start asking these questions, and so that drives it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's another factor. There's a generation shift also in the plumbing industry. I don't mind making fun a little bit of our industry. It's maybe a little bit, if I say plumber, most people in America say butt crack. They do. It's not a
Right.
I mean, it is literally, it's an association. They always have this picture of a plumber. He crawls around under the sink and stuff like that. The newer installers and plumbers, they call them more self-installers now, are much more educated. They use electronics for measuring and controlling and checking, and they want to work with more advanced products. Now you're sitting with a handheld camera like that. You know, they like to have, our pumps can be controlled by iPads and iPhones.
Okay.
They like that.
Yeah.
It's more, lack of better words, sexy, interesting,
Right.
a new thing. That is also driving it.
Okay.
So prices, and then a new generation. And we are then trying to fuel this, trying to be a catalyst by having marketing, but more importantly, having training and education as Soren says. Our best marketing is training. Get people to try it. So.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to add about the global pump industry right now?
I can just say it's amazing if you look outside the pump industry, how many people who doesn't really know how much and how important a pump and a well-working pumping system is doing for people's daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we also have here an image issue. I'm talking generally now about the pumping industry.
Right.
And it seems sometimes that it's not very, yes, used the word sexy before.
Yeah.
And I think this is what we need to make it. We need to make it more emotionally understood by
Right.
the users.
Mm-hmm.
And not just to achieve that, but by doing that, you make it into a high interest for people, and thereby you can also talk sense with people, because then they understand they need a good working product, they need a good working technology. But for many people, they do not even know they have a pump in their house.
Exactly.
So I think we as an industry, and also the medias, have actually a little work to do here to make these products more emotionally understood and maybe even sexy.
Right.
And you're nodding because I'm sure some of your friends ask, you're working for what magazine?
Yes.
Pumps and Systems?
Yes.
What the heck is that?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think what Soren is talking to is incredible and probably.
Yeah, but that's irritating me always, because if we, so to say, shut off all the pumps, I mean, you could not have a shower, you could not have a drinking water, you would not have air conditioning, you would not have all the shits going away from you, whatever you have. And I mean, think about a disaster, a low living standard you would have. And now, of course, this is a banal thing I'm saying, of course we have pumps, but now it is to understand that they also have to work efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have questions, but I think there's a story not a lot of people can tell as good as Soren, and that is what happened in Europe the last 10 years. How the industry came together on a volunteer basis and what's now becoming legislation. Do you mind telling that story? Because it's something I think the readers here will appreciate.
Yeah,
what
please do.
happened in the other areas? Because that's what we're seeing is coming here, Soren.
Yeah, the the story starts 10, 12, actually nearly 13 years ago. When we started talking about how do we get people to understand this about high efficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the white goods area, they had a labeling system. If you have a referee, if you had a freeze or whatever, we had that already. So we actually, together with competitors, we sat together and said, how could we make a labeling system indicating the efficiency of the product?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, competitors are not normally allowed to talk with each other because of antitrust regulation. So we went to the EU Parliament or the EU Commission and got an approval. And we also asked them at that time, they said, would you make that a law, a directive, as they call it? No. It was not interesting for them at that time. It was 10 years back. So in the industry, we sat together and we developed this, so to say, labeling systems that pumps should have an A+ or whatever. They should live up to this and this and that efficiency degree. And that was actually a voluntary agreement between all pump makers in Europe for some years. And then 3-4 years ago, we then again went to the EU Commission and the EU Parliament and said, hey, do you really know how much CO2 emission you could save if you turn this into a law?
Mm-hmm.
And we sort of say converted from classic or old-fashioned technology into new technology. And we made these calculations. And it is something like 11, 12 million tons of CO2 you can save every year. And then the producers started, getting very, oh wow, we can live up to some of these global CO2 emission, not only by doing this, but that could participate in achieving these goals. So by the end of, I think it was decided in 2011, it was made a law. So in 2013, where we are now, it is only allowed to sell pumps with a certain efficiency degree.
Ah.
So through this journey,
Mm-hmm.
which were voluntary in the beginning, we convinced the lawmakers, why don't you do it? Put it up as a frame, as a regulation.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go down, or the installer go down, you can only buy now pumps which has this higher efficiency.
Oh,
And
wow.
that means, from a business point of view,
Yeah.
that the whole market has evaluated up to a higher level, also from a turnover and a price point. And the gaining is, of course, that the end user will save energy,
Mm-hmm.
save money simply, and the society will save CO2 emission impact.
Great.
So there are many winners.
Yes.
So that's the story we tell again and again. And I think the real thing here is interesting, that industry found together.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
industry found together, not to agree on prices and
Yeah.
and all this stuff. No, to agree on competing on a higher level
Mm-hmm.
of technology, and that was
That's
a
great.
fantastic journey.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's possible here.
Yeah.
but we would love that. to
Well,
happen.
maybe. Yeah.
We would love that to happen.
And it is happening here. I
Mhm.
cannot tell you exactly when,
Yeah.
but my guess is that within the next 2 years, there will actually be a law coming into order here. Very brief, I can tell you what is happening. You know that Hydraulic Institute, which is our volunteer organization, have the last year worked on trying to come up with a volunteered proposal.
Mm-hmm.
What happened halfway into that, we knew this was going to happen. Department of Energy has said we are going to set minimum standards for pumps. So the last half year has been a dialogue between Hydraulic Institute and Department of Energy, and this is very important, is that Department of Energy has a mandate from Congress to do this. It does not need to go through the House or the Senate.
Okay.
It's based on a law back from I just forgot, but it's back from the 80s. So the framework is there.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to happen, and where Department of Energy started with electric motors for the industry. They put that in place last year. And in fact, the US today has the highest energy efficient standards on industrial motors anywhere in the world.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's even
Okay.
higher than the the standards in
That's
Europe.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
Just-
they are stretching now. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that tells me the Department of Energy is not afraid of setting it up there.
Oh.
It was actually so strict that 2 years ago when it first came in, we had, the whole industry was struggling, Baldor and ABS,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
DVA,
right, I remember.
because we suddenly we had to move up to that area, but we've proven we could do it, and that's going to happen on pumps here, hopefully this year, maybe next year, and that will create a revolution in the pump industry.
I see.
Exactly how the impact is still getting negotiated, but the mandate is there. And so we're a little bit jumping this volunteer phase,
Yeah.
which we tried to do, but that's
Yeah.
hard to get people together. And it will go directly into law. So that will set
Oh.
off a whole domino effect of
Yeah.
products and training and
Mhm.
a lot of things. It's very exciting. And of course, you hear also the political agenda we heard today, Quinn and the others.
Yeah, that was
It's
interesting. Yeah.
You heard how it comes from his
Yeah,
heart.
yeah, yeah.
It's not something that one of his assistants has shoved to him last night. Here, you need to
Mhm.
talk about this. He means what he's talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, that's clear.
That's clear. So
Yeah.
watch out. I think your generation will see a lot of things happening in water and energy.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting.
Yeah. That is
No, but
exciting.
this is our generation's scarcity. That's the water thing. I mean, we
Mhm.
talked a lot about oil and whatever it is,
Mhm.
and this is of course also a hot topic, so to say, about our energy supply. But we are convinced, and I think it's obvious that having water in the right place at a level you can actually drink it or you can use it for something, and get rid of water where it was not needed.
Mhm.
I mean, it's an odd world we're living in.
Yeah.
In some places they don't have water.
Yeah.
I mean, as the governor say in Texas, they might need some
Mhm.
more, you know. And we have a lot of droughts around, and then you have the flooding issue.
Mhm.
You had it in the Katrina. We see in Asia a lot of flooding issues coming on, where we see the level of the water changing, and that's in the delta areas. They will simply get flooded if you don't have pumping systems regulating that level of water.
Mhm.
And we're involved in several big projects in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and in also in India. They have these issues, and we have huge pumps which can actually, so to say, help on solving this problem.
Mhm.
It's actually a major problem here. Is
That's the what they call stormwater here.
stormwater is a huge problem.
That's what I
here.
was going to ask about. They
Yeah.
talked a lot about stormwater.
And it's
So-
not this. We don't get the monsoons kind of water
Mhm.
downfall, but when we gone, they don't run. The water doesn't get moved fast
You
enough.
can get rid of it, no?
And what's really nasty here in Chicago, in some areas of Chicago, is that the old-fashioned way of doing this, of course, to have both stormwater and wastewater in the same pipe,
Then you are contaminating.
contaminating. And what's really nasty is that the wastewater comes back up,
Yes.
and then you have hundreds of houses getting their cellar flooded with wastewater.
Mm.
And if you've ever, you don't even need to try to imagine how horrible it is to get your cellar filled with thousands of gallons of municipal wastewater.
That would be
It-
awful.
Awful.
Now, but you simply need big reservoirs where you so to say sample the water, and then you need, of course, to pump it into that. And that cost, that's a lot of investments.
Mhm.
And that's what we all, I think all of us today making the speech we talked about, where private and public partnership comes together.
Mhm.
Because Grundfos will not make the big reservoirs, just to give an example. That's not our business.
Right.
But that's the governmental, they need to do this, and then we can come in with the technology of the pumping system, and the
Mhm.
controls, and what have you. And we need to sit together and discuss these big infrastructure
Mhm.
challenges, and their corporate or private and public partnership will be the answer.
That's maybe the headline for today.
It is.
Yeah.
How did you also
Yeah.
talk to some of the politicians?
Yeah.
But that you hear both the governor and also the county deputy, or what we call it, chairman,
Mhm.
talk about that. And I think it's clear, and we see that in Europe it's used very much, where we go in with the counties and we do these things, and so, yeah.
All right, great. All right, and yes, what are some of the biggest initiatives for Grundfos right now?
I would highlight our product launches. I mean, we are a product company.
Mhm.
We really, as you probably have noticed, we love technology. And we're launching a row of products right now, which are really setting the new benchmark. And the biggest one is our large circulator programs. It's circulators circulating both cold and hot water in commercial buildings. We call it the Magna 3.
Okay.
And it sets new standards, meets all the legislation Soren just talked about in Europe, and also what we expect is coming here. And we're launching that into the market. That's a huge undertaking. In Europe, where people know the game, there's a culture of awareness around sustainability. It's like there's a pull effect. Here in the US, we're launching it into a market where people don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
So if there's something we're spending a lot of time and money on right now, is to launch this product into a market which arguably is not mature to handle this yet. But we want to be there because we want to be way ahead of the competitors. Because we're very comfortable with this legislation.
But you had a great attention in Dallas, didn't you, on the introduction?
We had the Ashway in Dallas. We had an enormous, it was fantastic attention. We had at our booth, and your colleagues were there. You were not there, I think.
No.
There's so many people. We had 700 people come. It was amazing. But what was interesting was that the industry is starting noticing this is coming. So it was also from parallel industries. It was the chiller manufacturers, the air conditioner manufacturers. Many of your colleagues and journalists came to our press meeting. We never had so many. Well, today was a record, but the trade show, we never had so many journalists before that wanted to hear the story about technology solving this sustainability issue. And then also at the customer event was our biggest customer event ever, which was fantastic. And I can just say people are really, they're just excited. Of course, the pumperologists just really love the software. How do you do it? But also that there's something new coming. And the clever guys, as you say, Soren, they see this as a fantastic business opportunities. They say, this is how I as a plumber, there's not so many plumbers at Ashway, but this is how I can differentiate myself from the next guy who just puts in a cast iron boiler in the cellar with an on-on shift. Here I can do something special here. I can make a remote control integrated into a buildings control. And that's the clever guys. That's the segment that we think really will grow fast.
But again, not to be the party spoiler here, the biggest challenge is actually to get the house owners to understand this, and to get the consulting engineers to help them understand this one. When we selected this new place, I think we had, was it 14 options or 15 options, and we traveled around, and I was with you, we were together on 5 or 6 of them. And every time we asked to be to see the pump room, to see the machine room of the house, and none of them had new technology, or at least medium, say high standard. It was old-fashioned crap.
Really? Yeah.
To put it bluntly. It was not very, and you see, beautiful house, everything is working, and you see, but go down in the machine room, and then, and I don't get it, because that's not that expensive to do, right?
Right.
But you need to change mindset here.
It's a culture.
It's a cultural thing, and that's the long journey. Hopefully not so long, but it's the journey we need to do. It's not only done by doing the product introductions, and you will have these, as you call them, product enthusiasts. They love it. We need to have the consulting engineer specifying these things to understand it, and then convince the housing owners how, and expel the benefits for these guys. And of course, energy bill goes down. You will see much better usage of the whole environment, such a house. And
Great.